7 days for under $10 a day. There are 2 college football games Tuesday night, 4 NFL and 2 college football games on Thanksgiving, 16 college football games on Black Friday, plus a full Saturday and Sunday of college football and NFL action. Add in any NBA, college basketball, and NHL action, and it's an awesome week of sports. We are so very thankful that you are current or maybe a new client of WagerTalk, and we want to give you our best once-a-year price for a 7-day all-sport, all-access package. Enjoy the holiday with family and friends, and don't worry about missing plays throughout the week if you're traveling. That's right, only $69 for 7 full days of college football, NFL, NBA, college hoops, NHL, and any other plays your favorite capper releases. Happy Thanksgiving and safe travels for those hitting the road from our WagerTalk family to yours.
Monday, November 22nd, Thanksgiving week. WagerTalk Today for Monday, and we're going to have a fantastic show today, as we always do. I'm Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez for the next 3 days. We'll be here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We're taking Thanksgiving off on Thursday, and then the Prez and I will be back on Friday. But until then, I have Teddy Covers as my co-host the next 3 days here on WagerTalk TV, WagerTalk Today. And as always, we're going to get to the bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books in just a moment with Teddy. But we're also going to have Marco D'Angelo, Monday Night Football talk, Giants, Buccaneers, also 2 advanced Saturday college football games, BYU, USC, Oregon State, Oregon. Big game breakdown in between with a little NBA action, Jazz Grizzlies from Teddy. And then Bryan Leonard, another Vegas. It's all Vegas today except for me, guys. All Vegas Monday. We've got Bryan Leonard coming with some NBA. He's got Hornets, Wizards, Thunder, and Hawks. And then he's going to look at the Thursday night Thanksgiving, the mid-afternoon game between the Raiders and Cowboys. By the way, Teddy, teams are playing this Thanksgiving Thursday, went 0-6 straight up, 1-5 against the spread yesterday. I know we had Ralph Michaels on a few weeks ago talking about how teams sometimes don't perform well when they have a Thursday game on deck. That was definitely the case yesterday. Speaking of yesterday, Teddy Covers, any bad beats, bad bets, bad for the books? What'd you see?
Well, 2 things. One, who covered of the 6 teams that lost?
Lions
on Thanksgiving.
Lions lost by 3.
Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
And of course, you're going to get to the Ravens game. The Ravens game was, dicey. They theoretically covered the closing line, so I counted that.
They did.
That could have gone either way.
There's no theory about it. And, of course, big game breakdown, just a correction. I swapped out the game we were talking about. I'm going to talk about the Celtics and the Rockets for big game breakdown when it comes to NBA. Let's do a little bad beats, bad bets, and bad for the books. And I know there was a bad beat on Saturday or 2 or 3 in college football. I didn't see any brutal ones. Not a one. I saw some of the NBA. The Celtics blew a 25-point lead against OKC, ended up winning by only 6 as 9.5-point favorites. The Bucs were up by 29 in the 4th against Orlando. Couldn't cover minus 11.5 in that ball game. They fell asleep late. But college football, there really wasn't a ton for bad beats. But, of course, in the NFL, there's always a bad beat or 2 to talk about. And certainly, if you had Chicago at the late line, if you bet them before kickoff, hey, guess what? Lamar Jackson's sitting for Baltimore. Let's get down to the Bears right now. Well, they made the play to win the game. A 4th and 11 pass from Dalton, a good one. I got Bears under as my big ticket, their season win total. Okay. And literally, that pass, Dalton the Goodwin, for the touchdown on the 4th and 11 is the difference between Chicago being 3-7 and being out of it and being 4-6 and still being in it. And I'm sitting there going, oh no, man, this is a big ticket wager, a season-long wager against Chicago. And then what happens? Ravens hadn't scored a touchdown all day. Well, Ty Huntley's not bringing them back, right? 21-yard pass interference to start it, then a 29-yard completion, a 21-yard completion, boom. Touchdown, Ravens get the win. Bears backers sick on that one, even though Chicago not necessarily a right side. And, of course, Sunday Night Football, the Chargers -3 up to -6. They're blowing out the Steelers. It's 27-10 late 3rd quarter. And Pittsburgh's not rallying back from a 3-score deficit. That's not how that offense works. Except for that, they had a block punt touchdown. They're still up 14 with 5 to go. And then Steelers touchdown, Chargers incompletion on 1st down, interception on 2nd down. So much for working the clock. Steelers get the second cheap second half touchdown to tie the game. Then another cheap field goal to take the lead after the Chargers went for it from their own 34. Chargers score last, only win by 4. They do not cover the number for most of their backers. not fun. You had LA last night. When it comes to bad bets, there was a bunch of them. Let's see. We got SMU. They took a whole bunch of money against Cincy, plus 14 down to plus 9.5. Marco D'Angelo was on the show last Monday talking about how Cincy was the right side, and they were the right side. Bearcats blew them out for the opening kick, 48-14. All that SMU money is wrong. Iowa State plus 6.5 down to plus 3.5. Bubble burst for Oklahoma. Doesn't matter. They're still a touchdown better than the Cyclones. Iowa State money wrong. And of course, Florida money -7 to -9.5 at Missouri. They led by a touchdown in overtime, but allowed the TD and the 2-point conversion to lose, and then fired Mullen after the game. In the NFL, some bad bets. The Browns from -10 to -14 versus the Lions. You can't cover -14 when you don't score 14, even against a non-NFL quarterback. Boyle for Detroit. Cleveland banged up themselves. They bet the Packers-Vikings under 50.5. That got bet down to 46.5. 34-31 shootout. And talk about a bad bet. I laid -130 with Arizona early in the week. They closed plus $2 when Murray didn't play and Hopkins didn't play. They closed +5, +5.5. Every sharp dollar was on Seattle in that ball game, and well, Seattle got smacked around. They lost by margin at home to Arizona. So all that Seahawks money, bad bet, as well as my -130 with Arizona. That was a bad bet. Obviously, there were better prices available. Bad for the books. I'll tell you what, the books got slapped around a little bit yesterday. But on Saturday, look, everybody in Vegas knew that Michigan State was not the number 7 team in the country. Ohio State bet from -17 to -20. They won by 1 million. Everyone in Vegas knew that Oregon wasn't the number 2 team in the country, the number 3 team or whatever they were. It was all Utah money. And Utah closes, 3.5 in that game. Blows out Oregon. Nobody bet Texas. Sark's about to start drinking again. 6 straight losses, all West Virginia money. That wasn't good for the house. And nothing but UCLA money against USC. The Bruins hung 62 in their revenge win. Not that much fight from USC once they trailed. In the NFL, Niners money from pros and Joes. They closed 6.5. They blew out Jacksonville. That was bad for the house. The pros and bros, Joes, both bet the Dolphins as well. -2.5 up as high as -4. They won by 7 versus Flacco and company. Eagles money. Philly, a wise guy special 2 weeks in a row. -1 to -3 versus the Saints. Philly gets the money. The Ravens and the Bears, you mentioned at the top, Steve, lands right in the middle between the open of -6 and the closer of -1. The total was a big loser for the books as well. Bet down from 45 to 40, 16-13 final. And last but not least, all Cincinnati money. The Bengals took the cash against the Raiders, and they blew them out in the fourth quarter. That, not a great result for the house. So frankly, wasn't a great weekend for the books. There were a bunch of real good weekends for the books in November. This wasn't one of them. What about you, Steve? Back to you. What'd you see?
Well, a couple things. First of all, I keep saying that, I'm in favor of maybe an 18 playoff in college football, but unfortunately we never get the chaos and it just keeps working itself out. We talked about it last week, how these things just work themselves out. And 2 weeks ago, Michigan State went down to Purdue, Wake Forest went down. Last week, as you said, Oklahoma went down the previous week, however you want to phrase it. On this past weekend, Michigan State now out of the mix. And of course, you mentioned Oregon. That was the top 4 team that went out. We don't have the playoff rankings yet, but we do have an update, I believe, coaches poll. So maybe we can get a little bit of a head start foreshadowing from that. Cincinnati's now 4th. Notre Dame is 5th. Nobody talking about the Irish, but could they possibly sneak their way in? Your Michigan Wolverines are 6th, Teddy. And, of course, we have a huge game this Saturday at noon Eastern. The look-ahead line was around 7. It's now 8. Just want to get your quick 30-second thought on that. We'll talk more about it later this week. But before we came on the show, folks, I saw a little bit of a fan in Teddy start to creep out. He might actually be rooting for the Wolverines this weekend. Is that a rumor or is that a fact?
Well, it depends on which way you end up betting. And frankly, if I'm betting the game at this number, I can only bet Ohio State at this number. Couldn't do it. I can't get to the Wolverines at less than +10. That said, if I don't bet Ohio State, I'll root for Michigan to win. I don't care if they cover, but 8-game losing streak to Ohio State's too much for any Michigan alumni. It's just too much. So,
yeah, the money line by the way, Ohio State about -300, so 2.5 to 1 if you're taking Michigan outright.
Then again, if I'm betting the Buckeyes, and the only way I can bet this game is Ohio State. So if I'm betting the Buckeyes, I will not be rooting for the Wolverines at all. I would expect them. I will root for them to lose their 9th consecutive matchup to Ohio.
I'd fully get that. And that once again is on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk about it a little later this week here. And of course, Prez and I will be here on Friday. So we'll definitely try to touch on that game Friday on the show. Monday Night Football, though, a little bit more pertinent game here. Giants and Buccaneers as we bring on Marco D'Angelo. And Teddy, you talked about how the Niners, a very public pick last week. Yesterday, I mentioned that in my video against Jacksonville. But the week before, Marco, one of the most public plays in the NFL was the Tampa Bay Bucs against the Washington football team. And obviously they lost outright as a 9-point favorite. Now back-to-back losses for the Buccaneers. They've quietly lost back-to-back games because they had the bye week in between. Do they get back on track here on Monday Night Football, Marco? How do you approach this one?
Well, guys, I'm going to start with the stat that you're going to hear everywhere on all of the shows today. They're going to talk about the New York Giants being in their best role, and that role being a road underdog. Since Coach Judge took over the Giants, they're 9-2 in that role with him. And if you go back, they're 19-5 against the spread as a road underdog. Now, with that said, if you just want to stop there and do the handicap, well, then go ahead and run to the window and take the New York Giants. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go a little bit deeper here and look at it. And don't forget, if you want to add a little bit more to that, these two played last year. They played on Monday Night Football. And Teddy, I think actually that was a game that we all met up down at Circa and watched that game. And the Giants almost pulled off the upset over Tampa Bay. They won that. Tampa won that game 25-23 as a 13-point favorite. Now, what I'm going to dig into here is one of the reasons the Giants are so good as a road underdog is, let's face it, how long has it been since the Giants have been relevant? A lot of times I feel teams are just looking past them, and they're a road underdog, and generally they're, a sizable road underdog, and it's easy to look past them. That's not going to happen tonight. Not with Tampa coming off back-to-back losses. They're going to be focused. And if you look at those two losses, they started the season at 6-1 and then lose back-to-back games. Well, the one game was against New Orleans, and that was a big divisional game. Jameis Winston, the return of facing his former team and everything. That's the game he got injured in, and they still won the game, the Saints did. And then the second loss at Washington, that was a playoff revenge game for Washington. So I'm not pushing the panic button with Tampa. What I feel, though, that you're going to get tonight is a very focused Tampa team coming off the back-to-back losses. So no look past the Giants, and I think that's bad news for the Giants. Also, and I want to get Teddy's thoughts on this because I know he likes to cross-examine me, but I'm going to throw a question to him this time. Going to turn the table. Last year, Tampa was a 13-point favorite on the road. Now you're looking at a number, it was 10.5. Now it's creeped up to 11. If you take last year's game and flip it around and put that game in Tampa, that would have meant Tampa would have been 16.5, 17-point favorite last year. Are you going to tell me that there's a 6-point difference between these two teams from last year to this year? Or were they just totally way off last year? Now, I know the final score indicated that they were off, but that was a Monday night home dog and all of that. I just think this line actually is a little bit low. Your thoughts?
I wouldn't argue with it. If I'm playing, I'm laying tonight. All right. I do not want the G-men plus the points in this one because of everything. The quotes coming out of that loss after Washington was a focus. One would expect Tampa to be focused here. And obviously, being that the Giants gave them a battle just last year, it's not like they're looking past this team at all. And Tampa, with that level of focus, is a one-way team. You're either betting on them or you're leaving the game alone in a matchup like this. My problem with the Bucs is the injury report. Vita Vea not likely to go. Richard Sherman not likely to go. Gronk isn't going to go. Antonio Brown isn't going to go. You've got other issues in the secondary and particularly the issues in the secondary for Tampa, concern me in this point spread range. And I think that's why the money's coming for the G-men here, is that Bucs injury report, which is not as bad as it could be, but certainly that's not a healthy team right now. What's your take on the injuries for Tampa when you're talking about covering a number like this?
Yeah, the Antonio Brown being out, he's helped stretch the field for Tampa Bay as much as I don't like Antonio Brown from the days with the Steelers, obviously. But I look at this and you're still looking at, he's got weapons on this team. This is still the number one team, yards per play, and number one team, points scored per game, going against the Giants, who in those same categories are 21st and 24th. Defensively, Tampa Bay yards per play, number 7. I just don't see the Giants getting enough points in this game. I'm going to go ahead and lay the points in this one. I've got Tampa winning it 30-13. It's a statement game. It's a Monday night game. They know they almost got beat by the Giants last year. So, again, all of those things, off of 2 losses, off a close scare last year, we get a focused team. And it's Tom Brady, Daniel Jones. I'm sorry. There's only one way. And I love your phrase, if I'm playing, I'm laying. And that's the only way you go here.
So, Marco, I'm looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now on the line. The consensus on it just went from 11 down to 10.5 in many books, including the consensus live at WagerTalk Live. So, but Marco's actually been red hot with his plays on this show over the past year. So maybe maybe it's a false head fake. But yeah, line has gone from 11 now to 10.5 in some spots. So we'll see. I doubt it hits that key number of 10 though by kickoff. But yeah, the public was burnt by him last week. Back-to-back losses. Hard for me to back the Giants as well, though. I'm in agreement with Teddy and Marco. If you play it, you lay it. Let's look at some Saturday college football, though. And, Teddy mentioned how USC did not show up against UCLA this past week, losing 62-33. They've now failed to cover 5 straight. They're 1-4 straight up. They are one of those teams. They were actually the first of the 7 teams in the Power 5 that lost their head coach back in September. They rallied after that. They've really done absolutely nothing since. Do they pick things up here for this game against BYU? They've got Cal on deck. What are they, 4-6, Marcus? So they got to win both games to make a bowl. How do you think they come out this week?
Okay, well, I said it after the Notre Dame game. I said there will only be one game left on the USC schedule if they show up at all, and that would be last week against UCLA. Well, obviously, we saw the result. They didn't show up. They got boat raced from start to finish in that game, gave up 60-some points. Now, normally, a history-rich program like USC, after an embarrassing loss like that, I would look to say, hey, they're going to come back, bounce back. They don't, nobody likes to be embarrassed. But you know what? I can't do it. This team has quit. And you bring up the 4-6, and that's actually one of the things I had in my notes. Yeah, people are going to look and say, okay, they need to win the last 2 games to get to 6-6. You're USC. Do you really want to go to a toilet bowl? Because that's what 6-6 is going to get them if they make it to 6-6. This is a history-rich program. I don't think they want to go to a bowl like that. They've got a lame duck coach. So the players, what do they care? You hate to say a team quit, but did you watch them in that UCLA game? I saw nothing from the Trojans that give me any part of anything that I want to have any money involved. I wouldn't bet USC with Teddy's money, okay? That's how much I don't want any part of it. And I'm going to look at BYU here. They're 9-2, looking to cap off, a good season for them. They want to build their resume for the best bowl possible, even though it's a bad USC team on the resume. It's a big name from a Pac-12 school, one of the Power 5. That's good for their resume, where they end up at. I'm going to go with BYU, and I think if you look the last 2 games with USC, they have gotten beat at the point of attack. They gave up 282 yards on the ground to Arizona State, and last week 260 to UCLA. BYU is going to run the football down their throat, and BYU is a team that doesn't beat themselves. 7 of 11 games this year, 0 turnovers for BYU. They only have 9 on the entire season, and 4 of them came in one game, the loss to Boise State. I like BYU. They roll 34-20.
So I agree with everything that you said there about USC. The clients and I cashed a ticket on UCLA this last week. I'm betting against this dead UCLA team. Although I'll give the Trojans credit. They chuck the football around. They still, the Frost QB dart is good, man, and they still have plenty of playmakers. But everything that you said, everything that I said, that's all factored in this number, isn't it? I mean, -7 on the highway. It's not like there's a point spread bargain here on the BYU side, is there?
No, absolutely not. But this is one of those things, and you got to remember at this time of the year with a team like USC, if they get down 10 to 14 points, they could just roll over and quit. That's the problem with a bad team. Maybe they come out with a little bit of fire in their eyes at the beginning of the game. But as soon as something goes wrong, when you're a bad team, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It might start out looking like a skinny Teddy, and it'll end up looking like me, Ralph, or Bryan at the end of the hill. It just gets big in a hurry, and I'm not doing it. I'm on BYU. I can't do it.
Yeah, Marco, I just checked my database to see if I had an advanced line from this summer on BYU USC. I don't have one. There might have been one at some books, but I don't have one to see. But if Teddy, if you can pull that up, it'd be interesting because, yeah, I mean, that, like Teddy said, is it factored in at -7, but it's hard to back. I mean, I use that Texas analogy. How could anybody have played them against West Virginia last week? They lose outright as a 31-point favorite to Kansas, and they'd lost 5 straight as well. By the way, quickly, the look-ahead line in August for Ohio State was -13 at Michigan. That's pretty interesting to talk about. It was -13, Ohio State. Now it's 8, as we talked about at the top. One other game I want to get to, which I don't have a look-ahead line on either, is Oregon State-Oregon, but it's a huge rivalry game, obviously, out there in the Northwest. And I want to get your thoughts on rival dogs. This might be a good case to talk about, so I'll throw it to you, Marco. Oregon State's a 7-point dog at Oregon.
Yeah, this is the week that I like to say that when Thanksgiving week comes about, I take all my stats and I generally move them to the side in college football because it's rivalry week. And we know that, you can throw the stats out the window because strange things happen in rivalries. But this one here in particular, there's a lot of sidebars to the game. Obviously, the Pac-12 championship for the North is on the line. Who's going to get their invite to play in the Pac-12 championship, which this year will be here in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. So it is something to look forward to, obviously, any year to play in the conference championship. But I got to ask the question, if I'm Oregon, isn't that a consolation prize now? I mean, last week, I thought it was ludicrous that they were in the talk for being one of the 4 best teams in the country, but they were there. And all they had to do was win at Utah, and they're going to be looking at playing, their way into the national championship picture. And now that's gone. So this is what I like to call the dream crusher. They still have their secondary goal, but that's got to be deflating to be this deep in the season and have it snatched away. Then you look at this Oregon State team. They're playing good football, and they took care of an Arizona State team with a decent defense. They ran the football down their throat. This is what this team does best. And if you look, Utah gave the blueprint for beating Oregon last week. Be the more physical team. Run the football down their throat. And nobody does it as good as Oregon State. They're a top 10 rushing football team. And I think if you control the line of scrimmage, factor in that possible letdown from the dream crusher, and I'm getting a touchdown, there's only one way for me to go in this game, and I'm taking the Oregon State Beavers plus the points. And I'll throw 2 systems in here. One, I also want to point out the last 3 seasons, Oregon State, 9-1 is a road underdog. And this is a league-wide system play in college football. If you play on underdogs of 3.5 to 10 points, after a game where they went under the total by 17 points or more in the second half of the season, 38-16 against the spread the last 5 years. Also, playing a road team after allowing 17 points or less in back-to-back games when facing an opponent off a loss of 17 or more points. The last 10 seasons, league-wide college football, 92-41. Both of those support the Oregon State side. That's where I'm at in this one. I'm going to call it Oregon State 31-28.
So it's another play where I'm certainly not betting the other way, Marco. I only want to. All that being said, I want to cross-examine you on this one because this reminds me a little bit of Oklahoma last week against Iowa State. It was like the bubbles burst for Oklahoma. The bubbles burst. And number one, they were better than that team. And number two, the bubble wasn't so burst that they weren't interested in playing the Big 12 title game. So here's an Oregon team. Yeah, the national championship's gone, or probably gone, unless something bizarre happens. But that wasn't their goal at the start of the season. Their goal at the start of the season was to win the Pac-12. And that goal is still right in front of them. They have home favorites. Oh, and they're in revenge for a team that upset them last year as double-digit dogs. The 3 previous meetings between these two teams, 2 of them were bad blowouts, and all 3 of them were double-digit wins for Oregon. So when you put those factors together, all right, Ducks are still playing for something. They're in revenge against their rival, and they're the better team. And, if Oregon State falls behind, they're not built to come back. Just like Oregon wasn't built to come back if they fell behind early against Utah and had a disastrous first half. With those factors together, would you consider the Oregon side in this one?
It's funny that you bring up the Oklahoma, Iowa State, because you're right. You were dead on. It's one of the times I will 100% agree with you. It's the same situation.
Woo!
And although I had a good week in football last week, I went 9-4 with my plays. One of the 4 losses, Teddy, was Iowa State. I will say this much. The scoreboard showed Oklahoma was the better team on Saturday. That game changed on one play in that game. And that one play was right before the half when it was a tie game in Iowa State on a 3rd and forever at the 40, was trying to get enough yards to get a field goal attempt right before the half. And Brock Purdy, which is just a quarterback that this year has not shown up in any of the big games, gets hit, fumbles, and it's a scoop and score with 11 seconds left in the first half to go up by 7. Possible 10-point play there from not getting a field goal attempt to giving up a touchdown. And then Oklahoma starts the second half with the football. So, yeah, it's the exact same thing as that one. But I'm not sold that Oklahoma was the better team on Saturday against Iowa State. I think Iowa State beat themselves rather than Oklahoma beating them. So I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm going to go back to the well with the same play, taking the road dog. But at least Oregon State has been a little more consistent than Iowa State has been. And you got to admit, Brock Purdy, tell me one big game that he showed up for this year. None.
Yeah, well, Brock Purdy, his offensive line wasn't that good, and his receivers weren't that good. So, we always point at the quarterback, but I don't blame it all on Brock Purdy. Sorry, Steve.
Yeah, and by the way,
and a little bit of the coach with the his play calling in short yardage. He did it in the Baylor game earlier, a couple times this year that I've been.
Stop whining about games you lost already, Marco. This isn't the Marco whines about the games you lost show.
I'm like Prez. I don't like to lose.
I don't like to lose either, but I'm not going to get on the show and whine about it especially when you have a 9-4 weekend. Settle down, Beavis.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't have much sympathy for Marco either, because right now he is number 1 in football 2021 at WagerTalk.com. Even with that Iowa State loss, 83-60 record. So he would have been 84-59, which does look a lot better because he get below 60. So I get what he's saying there. But hey, look, that was also Oklahoma's first loss of the season. They're just a 1-loss team. Now Oregon's got 2. So a little bit of a difference there too, is you still maybe feel like you're alive with that 1 loss. Marco, on the way out, it's $9 Monday. It's $69 7-day, all day at this week, Thanksgiving week at WagerTalk.com. Normally 3 days is $69. You get 7 days for $69. If anybody buys the 3-day package for $69, they're obviously not paying attention to WagerTalk TV this week. Marco, what else you got going on at WagerTalk.com?
And Steve, I absolutely guarantee there will be people that will buy the 3-day package. It happens every week. But I don't have any plays up today yet because I was prepping for this show, obviously. I will have plays up later today. But, guys, it's a no-brainer. Buy the 7-day package for $69. That's the best value go, and you're going to get action all week long and not miss a single play. All sports from your favorite capper for $69. Hey, load up your cart. Get a bunch of guys. This is the week to do it. Football. Friday's one of the best days. You send the wife shopping on Black Friday, and you sit there, eat leftover turkey, and watch football. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, normally we have maybe 2 or 3 meaningless games on Friday in college football. I think we have like 16 college. We have a whole NFL week of college football on Friday alone this week. So, yeah, $69 all 7 days and nights at WagerTalk.com. That's half price. Don't miss it. It's available right now. 20 seconds, big game breakdown, NBA style when we come back from Teddy Covers.
Have you checked out all the new handicappers at Sports Memo? If not, here's your chance. We want to give thanks to all of you Thanksgiving week by discounting everything at Sports Memo through Monday, November 29th by 40% using coupon code THANKS40. This coupon code can be used on anything and everything from daily packages to 12-month all-access passes. Our new handicapping roster of experts is strong, giving you tons of options to choose from. All you have to do to redeem our Thanksgiving offer is go to sportsmemo.com, choose a handicapper of your choice, use coupon code THANKS40 at checkout, and save 40% on your purchase, and repeat as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Monday.
Time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some Celtics and Rockets for Monday night. Before I get into the analysis, I do want to let you know that I have a 5% big ticket play up tonight in NBA action. 1-0 for the year with the 5% big tickets and 16-8, 67% with these plays across sports since May. So running pretty good with the strongest plays. We got the Celtics laying 11.5 points, looking at the WagerTalk Live odds screen tonight. Total sitting in the 214.5 range. And this is a real simple concept for me. I like a team coming off a game in which they blew somebody out and then didn't play a good fourth quarter and let them back in the game. These are good spots to lay big prices with talented teams. That's the Celtics in this spot. The Celtics led Oklahoma City by 25 in the second half, midway through the third quarter on Saturday. They did not close out the game well on either end of the court. The Thunder cut the lead to 4 points in the final minute. Ime Udoka, the head coach for the Celtics after the game, I think we took our foot off the gas a little bit. We got a little sloppy in the second half. Those are the type of games you expect better fourth quarter execution next time around in a blowout spot. And you get this Al Horford quote talking about how the Celtics are coming together right now. Quote, we're starting to understand what we need to do offensively and how we need to play. It's nice to see that starting to come together. Boston, a team that is certainly playing much better basketball now than they were earlier in the season. And nothing's coming together for the Rockets right now. They're in the midst of a 14-game losing streak. 4 of their last 5 losses have come by double-digit margins. And it's real simple with Houston. All right, motivated teams are going to beat Houston by margin. Maybe bad teams won't. Maybe teams that are looking past the Rockets won't. But in many ways, it's similar to the Bucs and the Giants tonight in the sense of we know the focus is there for the favorite. This is a spot where the focus is there for the favorite. That's bad news for a team like the Houston Rockets. This is chalk worth laying. Give me the Celtics minus 11.5. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Merrill.
Little NBA action on Monday, big game breakdown style. And speaking of NBA, Teddy, we're going to keep it going. One of the best NBA handicappers for decades, and that's Bryan Leonard, WagerTalk.com. And Bryan, we're going to look at a couple NBA games, and then we're going to look at Thursday, Thanksgiving NFL on the way out. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's start with the NBA tonight. By the way, Bryan's off to a great college basketball start. I'm 4-1, 80%. Bryan's not far behind. He's 70% overall in college hoops, and he does have a pair of $9 best bets for college basketball right now at WagerTalk.com because it is $9 Monday. It's that simple. So check out Bryan's college hoops for tonight, but we're going to talk a little pro basketball. Let's start with Hornets at Wizards here. Wizards a slight home favorite. Bryan, what you doing with this one?
Yeah. Last week I came in with 3 NBA plays. We swept the board, and I like Teddy's play also today. I did want to point out that I don't need to watch a Pittsburgh Steelers game to find out who won or not. I just need to show up on Monday and see if Marco's got his Steelers garb on. If he doesn't, that means it lost. And I've noticed that every single week. Every time Pittsburgh wins, he's got a hat on or a jersey on. But, hey, it's good to stick with your hometown team, even if they stink like the Steelers do this year, coming from my Browns fandom that didn't look good yesterday in the victory. But, head back to the NBA orange, today.
Bryan. You're still wearing orange.
Well, it's a Chubb shirt, so... I showed up on your show with a Chubb. So anyway, let's talk some NBA basketball. I'm really big on shot quality. There's a website out there Simon runs called shotquality.com. You got to pay to get in it, but it's very well worth it. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've gotten off to such a good start in basketball this year. Charlotte played Washington the other day. And these are 2 teams right now, at least from a shot quality standpoint, that are playing over their heads. Charlotte wins that game, but if you go back and look at that game based on the shots taken in that game, There's a lot of variance, obviously, in basketball, especially from three-point shooting. But if you take a look at the shots taken, Washington was a better team in that game. They just didn't hit the shots. And this is a good matchup for Washington here because you got a Charlotte Hornets team that doesn't allow a lot of shots at the goal. But when they do, the other team scores a lot. They're 30th. They got a bad defense when other teams attack the rim. So it's a situation where Washington lives and dies by shooting the threes and taking the shots at the rim. And I think Washington right now, I played at 3.5 overnight. It's at 4 now. I play this up to 4.5. I think there's value here on Washington. Overall, I'm looking to fade each of these teams as the time goes forward. But it's a situation for me with that quick revenge in a game that they should have won. I prefer the Washington side here.
So, I mean, let me ask you about this revenge factor, Bryan, because, this game was played a week ago. Washington played back-to-back games against Miami. Since then, it's not like Charlotte had a game against Indiana and Atlanta. It is relatively a short turnaround, but is the fact that these two teams played last week and Charlotte won the game by 10, is that a meaningful part of this handicap, or is it much more about the shot selection for the Wizards and the fact that Washington, maybe something of an undervalued commodity earlier in the season?
I think I've been tracking this year, and it's basically a 50-50 proposition where a team has won the game or lost the game that they should have won based on shot quality. So you're right. In the short term, right now, maybe it doesn't mean a lot, but I do prefer quick revenge as opposed to, you play in November and then you're playing them in, March or whatever. I think by that time you'd forgotten what happened. But I think it was a game that Washington should have come out for the victory. I like them here, but it's a lot to do with the shot selection. It's also me looking to fade Charlotte, a team that I made some pretty good money on so far this year, this season. But they're not playing well right now. And you take a look at some of the games that Charlotte has played as of late, they were very fortunate to get those victories. So it's a team not really playing well right now, but they have been obscured because of the way they've come out and got some of these wins. The stats show they're not nearly as playing as well as what the records show.
That's the Washington Wizards -4 currently in most spots. And by the way, the Wizards 7-1 straight up and ATS at home this year. Probably one of the strongest home courts, home road dichotomies in all of basketball, despite being 11-5 overall. It's been mostly at home, just 4-4 on the road. Bryan, before we get to Thursday night Thanksgiving NFL, let's look at one more NBA game here. Thunder and Hawks. This game goes at 7:30 Eastern tonight. We've got Atlanta as a big 11.5, even a 12-point favorite in some spots. Any chance that the dog can hang here?
Well, Oklahoma City's hung a lot this year. This is a team that I came into the season not expecting much from, but I've been pretty impressive. They've put up a nice spread record. Obviously, their best player may not be playing tonight, the best scorer in Gilchrist. So that's something you have to take into account here. If he does come out and play, I would assume that the line will come down a little bit here. But I like to fade teams that are playing at home, like Atlanta is right now, and they're playing well, and they're just about to go on the road. They've been very successful at home. Now they got a nobody coming in at Oklahoma City. They head out to San Antonio their next game. I can see a little bit of a letdown here. Oklahoma City, even if they do end up playing shorthanded in this game, this is a team that they're 8th in the league, high-frequency attacking the rim. And when you take a look at the Atlanta Hawks, they've got a bad defense against shots against the rim. They're 28th. So I think if Oklahoma City could get to the rim here, they can keep this game close, and they may be able to pull out the victory. It's a situation where I'm looking to fade Atlanta, and you can't go wrong playing against Oklahoma City. Everybody takes them for granted, and they continue to cover spreads. I like the underdog in this one.
Well, let me ask you this, because the Hawks on the current homestand, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, every win coming by a double-digit margin, and the quotes coming out of the locker room after every game during this stretch has been, hey, we got off to a bad start. We got ground to make up. We got to do it. They're still not back to 500 yet. In fact, I believe this is the game that would get them back to 500. They're 9-9. So are you really anticipating a Hawks letdown tonight and a chance where they have a bad team that they can beat up on to get to 500 and make up for their dismal start to the season?
Well, it's not the quotes that I would like to have. I would like them to say, now we're back on track. Now we're looking at things well and things are working well. That's what I like to do when I take a look at the quotes. I look for teams that are looking a little bit is, Marco would say, fat and sassy. This is a team that's playing very well right now. So, yeah, it's not the quotes I would like to have, but, it's in their own minds, they're feeling that they're playing pretty well, and they should have an easy win ahead of them. I don't think it's going to be that way. I'll take the points with Oklahoma City.
And once again, Oklahoma City currently plus 11.5 to plus 12. Just a miserable offensive team. They've shot 43% or less in 9 of their last 10 games, but they've gone 8-2 against the spread still. It's really remarkable how bad they've been offensively, and they're still covered. If they ever start to shoot the ball halfway decent, guys, they could be a real play-on team. That's a big if, though. Speaking of offensive problems, Bryan, Dallas Cowboys, they put up 43 points a week ago against Atlanta. They scored 9 yesterday at Kansas City. And this is a Kansas City defense that, was suspect to be nice for a lot of this season. They have turned things around the last couple of weeks against the Raiders and the Cowboys. The Chiefs have played both these teams that now meet on Thursday night or Thursday afternoon. This is the 4:30 Eastern game Thursday. Raiders, your Las Vegas Raiders, 0-3 straight up ATS the last 3. How do you play this one? Do the Cowboys bounce back? Do the Raiders get back on track? It's an interesting matchup.
Well, they're not my Las Vegas Raiders. They're Las Vegas's Raiders. And when they were playing well earlier in the season, a lot of people were really excited, asking me how the Raiders, they got shot for a play. I said, the Raiders stink. The Raiders aren't any good. Let's just take a look at in the AFC right now. There are 5 teams that really have played lousy when you look at net points. Miami, the New York Jets, Houston, Jacksonville, and the Oakland Raiders, or obviously the Las Vegas Raiders now. This is a team that's just not playing well. They had that big jump, and I like to play teams that have a lot of controversy going on right now. When the Gruden situation came and all that, and the problems with some of their players, they came out and they played a really good game because they couldn't wait to get back on the field, get rid of all the controversy, and come out and play. That's one of my favorite betting trends, is playing in that situation. But since that time, the Raiders have stunk, as you pointed out. They've lost 3 straight games. They just played a team yesterday, Cincinnati Bengals, another team fighting for the playoffs in that same range as Oakland, or I keep calling them Oakland, Vegas, the Raiders are, and they were a no-show against Cincinnati yesterday. This is a team right now I'm looking to fade. They played a game against Cincinnati, a game they needed to come out and play well, and they didn't play well. Dallas, on the other hand, was playing a non-conference game. Sure, it was against Kansas City, but it was a non-conference game, so it didn't count as much. They've got a nice lead in the division, a 2-game lead, 2.5-game lead over Washington and also the Eagles. 2 teams playing a little bit better now too. So I think Dallas comes out here. It's a short week. The short week obviously plays better into Dallas's hands because they play this every single year, playing on Thursday, Thanksgiving. And if you take a look at looking at net points again, they're net 79 points on the season. And you look at the other teams in the NFC, the only other team doing any better is the Arizona Cardinals at 9-2. So you've got one of the best teams playing at home on a short week against a team in Oakland who just fallen apart and is now going out of conference. 7 points is something we're not going to see by the time this game goes on Thursday. You get a lot of teams, a lot of people every year make money fading the Detroit Lions and betting on the Dallas Cowboys, and I see more of that coming this week. Dallas coming off that bad offensive performance. I expect them to feast on this Raiders defense.
So, Bryan, the final score, certainly, I would argue that both games' final scores were misleading yesterday. I mean, Kansas City killed Dallas and had the Chiefs offense done anything, they'd have won that game by, 4 or 5 scores. And the Raiders were in a 3-point game in the Bengals in the fourth quarter, but only because Cincinnati hit a couple of 50-yard plus field goals to get that 3-point lead. And then things fell apart the last 5-6 minutes for the Raiders and ended up giving up a couple of scores. Are you worried about the quote-unquote misleading final scores taking away your line value with Dallas? As you mentioned, they're already 7, and they may well be 7.5 in many places by kickoff or higher.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it. If you watch the Raiders play all season long, anytime they've looked good, they turned around and looked bad on the next possession. They just cannot get it together. A lot of dissension right now in the locker room. I mean, with the quarterback situation with Carr. Normally, I would look to play on that kind of thing, but they've had so much of this all season long. It's just a situation where I think they're ready to fall, and they're ready to fall hard. And Dallas is a team that gets up for these Thanksgiving games. And the short week here really hurts Oakland, because the Raiders, because you've got a recent coaching change there. And now this is the first time he's played on a short week where you've got a Dallas team that's used to this every year. I think that's something that we really need to take advantage of in this contest.
Yeah, and by the way, the look-ahead line a week ago before these teams played yesterday was 7. Nothing changed there. They both struggled, but the over-under was 54.5, and now the current total is around 51. So we did see quite a move down because of the offensive struggles by the Raiders and Cowboys. Bryan, thank you. We got to run. $9 Monday, Bryan. You've got college basketball best bets, 2 of them, and you're hitting 70%, a 70% college basketball run. As you said, NBA's always been great. Bryan Leonard, WagerTalk.com. Check him out. Thank you for joining us, Bryan. Have a happy Thanksgiving. You too, Teddy. I'll be back tomorrow on Tuesday, so I can wish you a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow and on Wednesday. And then, of course, we're taking Thursday off, and we'll be back on Friday, Prez and Merrill. I'll be Teddy. Prez will be Prez. You see how this works. But once again, $9 Monday at WagerTalk.com, $69 a week at WagerTalk.com. No promo codes needed. Go there right now. And don't forget, SportsMemo.com. Thanks 40 gets you 40% off any package at SportsMemo.com. WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com. That's Teddy Covers. I'm Steve Merrill. Teddy, take us home. Thanks for having me.
Sure. We're going to have the opening line report for NFL, what is it, week 13? No, it's only week 12. For NFL week 12, coming up on this channel at the top of the hour. That being said, we'll do Wager Talk Today again tomorrow and Wednesday and Friday this week. I want to thank Bryan Leonard and Marco D'Angelo for joining us. Thank Newbie Behind the Scenes. And thank you guys for taking time out of your busy day to spend right here on Wager Talk Today. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games and good luck.
$7 days for under $10 a day. There are 2 college football games Tuesday night, 4 NFL and 2 college football games on Thanksgiving, 16 college football games on Black Friday, plus a full Saturday and Sunday of college football and NFL action. Add in any NBA, college basketball, and NHL action, and it's an awesome week of sports. We are so very thankful that you are current or maybe a new client of Wager Talk, and we want to give you our best once-a-year price for a 7-day all-sport, all-access package. Enjoy the holiday with family and friends, and don't worry about missing plays throughout the week if you're traveling. That's right, only $69 for 7 full days of college football, NFL, NBA, college hoops, NHL, and any other plays your favorite capper releases. Happy Thanksgiving and safe travels for those hitting the road from our Wager Talk family to yours.